Alright, my loves, welcome back to my channel and to this new series where we are inventing our own commissions to, build on our portfolios, to make art more fun and exciting, give ourselves some projects to work on, explore different subject matter, things that are a bit different to our usual, and potentially prepare ourselves for real client work in the future. So last time around we worked on an album cover, and I'll be sharing at the end some of the great ones that you shared with me, but for now we are working on a real project this time around, not something that I've made up. I actually have a commission. It's more of a gift. My auntie is having a big birthday soon, and she asked if for her gift I would make her a large painting of a wave. So that's the project for me. Large scale painting. I'll actually show you. We have a very big canvas here that I need to fill. She sent over one picture of the kind of thing that she wanted, so that's really all I've got to go off of. And there was a deadline, but with everything that's going on, and I don't know when this video will be up, we're actually not in full lockdown yet, but I don't see myself travelling all the way to Manchester with everything that's going on. So the deadline is a little bit looser, but I am going to still try and stick to getting this done by the end of this week. That's a point, actually. I'm not sure if this video is going to go up before I get to give it to her, so hopefully she's not watching. Well, anyway, if you are going to take part this time around, you don't have to do a wave. I'm going to be your client for this one, and I would like you to paint a picture on a larger scale than you would normally do. This is for someone's home. Let's just say it's for my home. The kind of picture that could go above a fireplace in a living room, something that's going to be the focal point of the room and something that's going to fit the space well. Just keep that in mind. And obviously, if you have only a smaller thing to work with, that's absolutely fine as well. Just make it something that'll stand out, and it doesn't have to be a wave, but something nature related would be nice. It could be a landscape, could be like close up of some leaves or some flowers, or the clouds, the sky, just anything. You can interpret that however you like, just something nature related on a larger scale than you would normally paint, and then the style is up to you, because in this case I've been given free rein to do whatever style I want to do. So that is where we're going to start. I am still in a style limbo, so I'm going to have a quick look online at some examples of wave paintings just to see if anything really takes my eye. There are a few different, there's limitless different ways to approach this, but a few things that I'm seeing a lot of. There are a lot of more detailed paintings, more realistic, where you get that frothy, splashy, just really detailed look. And then on the other end of the scale, you've got more of a close-up, more smooth looks. They're a bit more lenient with the colours they use, which is quite interesting. And some of them really do push that abstractness, a lot of bold brush strokes. And then there are a few that fall somewhere in between, which is I think where I'm going to end up, with a lot of smooth lines, maybe a nice use of colour, but then also some really frothy detail in there as well. And then the only other thing that I really came across is some of those more woodblock looking prints. I love it's almost like the Hokusai wave. This one, and I think if this was just for me, I might do something more along those lines, because I just love that look, but I don't know how well that would translate onto a canvas like this, and whether or not I'd be able to do it, because I'm planning on using acrylics, and I think this would suit more either an actual ink or wood blocking technique or watercolors. So style wise, I do think I'm going to go somewhere in between the smooth and a bit more texture, and then also to refer back to some waves that I've painted in the past. Nothing hugely detailed. This was a 10-minute study I think I did during my 30 landscape challenge. And then I tend to do things like this just for fun. It's really, if you haven't tried this, it's just a fun way to beat anxiety, really, just to suck yourself into a painting, do something really low maintenance, low effort. And then as a practice round, you may have seen this one that I did in a video. I actually did this live on a video, so if you want to see me do the whole process of this one, this took about an hour, and I think it's close to what I'm going for. As I said, this only took me an hour, so there'd be a lot more detail in there. But yeah, it's something along the lines of this. So the next step will be looking for references. As I said, I've got this one picture to go off, and I'm not sure how much of it she's looking for, how close it needs to be to that. So there are a lot of nice wave pictures on royalty-free websites. So yeah, I think we will go for something like this one, and I'll just see if I can take some creative liberties in making up a different way for that wave to end, because it is quite harsh, quite stormy, but I do like the way it swoops up. Now then, this is where I'm a bit stuck. I could dive right in and just get started on it. I could do another practice round, maybe that's what I should do, a practice round of that reference but with less action. I'm going to take that picture into Photoshop and edit the colours at least, and then I think I'll do one small-ish, maybe about this size, do a quick practice round, and I probably will leave it at that today because I'm too scared to actually tackle the big one, and maybe if I have time I'll prime that canvas as well. So I realised pretty early on that this one wasn't going to plan, but that's a good place to be in really for the first draft. It just meant that I allowed myself to just have fun with it, try different things, different techniques that I thought might work, and yeah, just see where it took me. I felt a lot freer to just make mistakes and make a mess, and that didn't happen as much as I thought it would. I think that wave paintings must be particularly forgiving because somehow this has turned out quite all right. I have learned a lot about how I do want to approach the real thing now. I don't think I'm going to do an underpainting, just don't think that's necessary. And I also think while I did start with these like broad strokes, I'll do something similar, but not so much. I think more like broad shapes rather than like sweeping all the way across, because there are some areas where I lost kind of a vibrancy, a brightness, where I would like to try and maintain that as much as possible. That's another point. The colours are a little bit off, but not too bad. I would like it to be a lot lighter. I still haven't figured out how I'm going to do like the top of the wave, but I kind of feel like I'm ready to do the real thing. I just can't really see myself getting much more out of more practices. I'm just not really a practice kind of person. I hate doing the same thing over and over again. I might regret this decision because this is the only large canvas that I have, and now that everything's kind of shut down, I don't know if I'll be able to get another one in time, but I think I'm ready. I'm gonna wait till tomorrow probably to actually do it, and in the meantime maybe I'll do a bit more experimentation. But this was a good practice round. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this, but it's pretty cool. Not bad for an hour's work.
take you there. I would give it all away to do it all again. Make our love a story that would never end. Never thought I'd feel so alive, looking in your eyes. I just wanna love you till the day I die. Oh, oh, I just wanna love you right. Oh, oh, love you till the end of time. I just wanna hold you for forever. Every day you're making me better. 'Cause a love like this is rare, and I wanna take you there.
Je t'aime. Mi corazón.
I like the approach I took for this project, spending just enough time on the preparations, looking at enough different references and examples of similar paintings in different styles, and deciding which bits I could take from where and how I could make that all come together. The practice painting was enough to confirm that the plan I had in my head of all the different elements of style and the combination of references I was using would work. And that little painting really came in handy also for the ugly stages of the big one, being able to refer back to my previous attempt and reassure myself that I could pull it all together in the end. And when things started to look a bit off in the big painting, instead of trying to work from reference pictures, I instead tried to emulate more of that looseness from the little practice painting. I think I've only ever painted something on a canvas this size once before, and never for someone else, which is added pressure, so I just tried to take a broad approach to it all, starting with a few loose lines to map in the key areas, where the sea met the sky, how the wave would travel across the page, and the direction of the sea in the foreground. And then I took one section at a time, just blocking in the main colours, getting the right values in there. It was all loose and sweeping and everything blended into everything else, but I knew that the next layer would start to introduce some detail and some differentiation. So if you're working on something on a larger scale, on any scale really, but particularly the bigger you get, this is a really good way to do things. You get to see from very early on if things are working as a whole, rather than focusing in on individual areas of detail at a time and then realising at the end that they don't all come together. And it's so satisfying adding in all the details at the end and seeing that painting come to life before your eyes. I was scared for a while really, at the inner bit of the wave that it just wasn't working, so I moved around the painting, focusing on other areas until I'd figured out if I could live with it as it was, or if I'd have to go back over it. And in the end I did go over what I had in the middle just a little bit, and I'm so glad I did. And I'm glad I left that area alone for a while just to give myself a better idea of whether it was working or not without overworking it in the moment. I wanted to share this process with you guys today, just to hopefully encourage you to try something similar, and hopefully in sharing my process you have a better idea of how you would like to approach it yourselves. I would love to see if you guys come up with something, be it a big wave or just anything nature related on a larger scale than you usually work. And while we have some time, I thought I would share some of my favourite album covers that you shared with me from last month's video. So I absolutely love this one from Ghostly Tea, inspired by a song called Peaches. There's just something about this that is really, really striking. I just think they've done such a good job here. In this one, they said they've used a slightly different approach to what they would usually do, and I think they've done it really, really effectively. Also loving just how they've really utilised the digital element to add in that neon. Really, really amazing. Really love the colours and texture in this one. It really catches your eye and draws you in and tells a story. It's got a really mysterious vibe to it that I love. And finally, we'll go for this one. There's just a really calm atmosphere to this one, and I'm really intrigued by whatever song inspired it, Under the Water. I would love to hear it, because if it's anything like this piece of art, I'm sure it'd be a lovely calming escape from where we're at right now. And you can tag your work on Instagram with the hashtag just if you're inspired by this video to create some work of your own. I would love to see it and potentially feature it on the next video. I'll be leaving a card above, a poll of what we're going to do for next month's video, so if there's anything in particular you want to see, give it a vote, and we'll work on it next time together. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining me for this one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.